Someone is falling for you slowly because you loved them without asking them to earn it, because you held out your heart in a world where many people ask for proofs, tests, standards, and conditions before they show any tenderness. You loved quietly, purely, gently, without demanding that the other person first prove they deserve it, without asking them to jump through emotional hoops, without treating affection like something that must be purchased with perfection. And in that quiet generosity, something in them began to melt. People do not fall for loud love, not really. They fall for the kind that stays steady. The kind that does not ask to be rewarded. The kind that feels like a safe place to walk into after a long day spent pretending to be strong for the world. You didn't love them because they earned it. You loved them because your heart recognized their tiredness, their walls, their fears, and you decided not to punish them for being human. You loved them because something inside you understood that sometimes the people who look the strongest are carrying the heaviest burdens. You loved them because you sensed their loneliness, even when they hid it behind laughter or confidence or silence. And you loved them with the kind of softness that people don't experience often enough. The kind that makes them question where you came from and why your presence feels like healing. It's strange how affection works. Some people will do everything to impress, to convince, to prove. But your love wasn't a performance. It wasn't a strategy. It wasn't a mission to win something. You simply cared. You cared when they didn't know how to receive care. You stayed when they expected you to leave. You listened even when they tried to brush off their own feelings. And slowly, something in them began to trust you. Not because you demanded trust, but because you proved with your consistency that you were trustworthy. They are falling for you slowly because slow love is real love. Fast love is fireworks, bright, loud, beautiful, but gone in moments. Slow love is sunrise, gentle, patient, impossible to ignore, impossible to rush. And the way they're falling is quiet but deep. Not the kind that confuses excitement with connection, but the kind that grows roots. They're falling because you didn't try to impress them. You didn't try to convince them. You didn't try to manipulate their emotions. You simply showed up as yourself. And in a world full of masks, that is rare enough to feel extraordinary, they're falling because your love did not come with a checklist. You didn't say, "You must be perfect first." You didn't say, "You must meet all my expectations before I give you affection." You didn't say, "Earn my effort." You gave what you felt, without keeping score, without calculating who was giving more or who was giving less. And that kind of love is disarming. People don't forget the ones who make love feel safe. They don't forget the ones who make affection feel like breathing, natural, gentle, necessary. Your presence in their life became something they didn't know they needed until they felt it. And once they felt it, they realized how rare it is to be loved so freely. You didn't force them to open up. You didn't demand vulnerability. You created a space where vulnerability felt possible. You didn't say, "Tell me everything." You simply made sharing feel easy. You made their fears feel less heavy. You made their silence feel understood instead of judged. And in that safe emotional space, they found themselves wanting to give you pieces of themselves they never shared with anyone. You are the kind of person who loves without rushing, without pushing, without pressuring. And because of that, they are falling for you at their own pace, slow, steady, genuine. They are falling not because you demanded love in return but because you reminded them what real affection feels like. They are falling because real love doesn't come with chains or cages. It comes with freedom. And you gave them the freedom to be themselves without losing you. They're falling for your patience. Not everyone loves patiently. Patience is rare in a world that expects instant results, instant replies, instant clarity. But you never made them feel like they were running out of time. You never made them feel like their hesitations were flaws. You never punished them for needing space. You understood that people who have been hurt before don't unfold quickly. You understood that trust grows with familiarity, not pressure. And because you let them take their time, because you didn't rush their process, they began to feel safe around you. They're falling for your consistency. Anyone can be nice once. Anyone can show affection when it's convenient. Anyone can pretend to be caring for a short time. But consistency is what reveals genuine intentions. You were there on good days and on bad days. You didn't disappear when things got quiet. You didn't become distant when they struggled to express themselves. You didn't give up when misunderstandings happened. You showed them the kind of steadiness that makes the heart feel at home. They're falling for your kindness. Not the kind of kindness that looks good to others, but the kind that is felt deeply. The way you pay attention. The way you remember small details. The way you check in even when they say they're fine. The way you notice changes in their tone or their energy. The way you carry warmth in your voice. The way you soften when they speak about things that matter to them. Kindness is magnetic. Real kindness, the kind that expects nothing back, is irresistible. They're falling because you accepted their imperfections. You didn't try to fix them. You didn't try to mold them. You didn't make them feel inadequate. You didn't compare them to others. Instead, you made them feel like they were enough, right here, right now. You didn't ask them to first become flawless before loving them. You loved them in their brokenness, and that is the kind of love people spend years searching for. They're falling because you see beyond the surface. You see the way they hide their sadness behind humor. You see the way they protect their heart by pretending not to care. You see the way they want to be strong for everyone but secretly wish someone would be strong for them. You saw their invisible wounds, the ones they never talk about, and you chose to love them not despite those wounds but with an understanding of how those wounds shaped them. They're falling because you make them want to be better, not out of pressure but out of inspiration. Your presence makes them want to rise, want to grow, want to heal. Not because you demanded change but because you showed them a version of love that makes growth feel natural instead of forced. They want to become the kind of person who deserves the softness you give so effortlessly. They're falling because you make life feel lighter. When they talk to you, the heaviness they carry feels a little less crushing. Their worries feel more manageable. Their loneliness feels less sharp. Their doubts feel less consuming. You make things easier without even trying. You bring peace without making noise about it. You make them feel like they have someone in their corner, someone who isn't waiting for perfection to offer support. They're falling because your love is honest. You do not manipulate. You do not hide behind games. You do not pretend. You love freely, but you also love truthfully. You express what you feel. You speak with clarity. You communicate with sincerity. And honesty has a way of calming anxious hearts. People who have been betrayed or disappointed often struggle to trust again, but your honesty slowly dissolves their fears. They're falling because you didn't ask them to earn your love. You didn't make them perform emotional tricks to deserve affection. You didn't treat love like a reward. You treated it like a gift. And gifts that come without conditions are the ones people treasure most. They're falling because you didn't love them for what they could give you. You loved them for who they already were. You didn't wait for them to be extraordinary. You loved them in their ordinary moments. You didn't wait for them to achieve something impressive. You loved them when they were quiet, tired, unguarded. You didn't wait for them to present their best version. You loved them even when they didn't know what version they were supposed to be. They're falling because your love isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It isn't chaotic. It is calm. And calm love is rare. Calm love is healing. Calm love is the kind of love that stays. And even if they were not looking for love, even if they told themselves they weren't ready, even if they believed they'd never trust again, something inside them responds to your presence like a flower responds to sunlight. They're falling because of the little things you do. The little gestures. The little texts. The way you cheer them on. The way you reassure them. The way you brighten their day without doing anything extravagant. Big moments may be memorable, but little gestures build emotional intimacy. You build that intimacy naturally, effortlessly. They're falling because you loved without fear. You didn't hold back. You didn't ration your affection. You didn't hide your feelings behind pride. You loved openly, and love that is open inspires trust. You didn't care if they weren't ready yet. You didn't care if they were slow. You didn't care if they were cautious. You allowed love to grow at its own pace, and that pace is becoming something beautiful. They're falling because you see the soul before the surface. Because you saw the beauty in them even when they couldn't see it themselves. Because you believed in them when they doubted themselves. Because you supported them without asking for anything in return. Because you loved them the way people secretly hope to be loved, without conditions, without fear, without demands. They're falling because you are rare. You are the kind of person who makes love feel possible again, and one day, they will realize that they didn't fall for you all at once. They fell slowly, in moments, in glances, in conversations, in silences, in kindnesses. They fell in the way you cared, in the way you stayed, in the way you listened. They fell because you showed them what genuine affection looks like, and it awakened something in them that they thought they had lost. Someone is falling for you slowly because you loved them without asking them to earn it. Because your love was not conditional. Because your love was not demanding. Because your love was a safe place. And people fall deeply for the places where their hearts feel understood. Do not underestimate the power of the love you offer. Do not doubt the effect you have on someone's heart. You may think you're just being yourself, just being caring, just being thoughtful, just being present. But to someone who has been hurt, to someone who has been disappointed, to someone who has been abandoned, your love feels like a miracle, and that is why they are falling, slowly, deeply, beautifully, because real love does not ask for proof, real love simply gives, and in giving, it inspires love in return. Someone is falling for you slowly because you are the kind of soul who makes love feel like a sanctuary instead of a battlefield. You don't turn affection into a competition. You don't approach connection like a negotiation. You don't make people feel like they have to constantly prove their worth just to be allowed near your heart. You simply let love be what it is meant to be, soft, freeing, generous. And in that softness, you are teaching them what it means to be loved without fear. They are falling for the way you don't rush their healing. You understand that healing is not linear, not predictable, not convenient. Some days they open up like a blooming flower, other days they retreat back into their shell. But you never shame them for how slowly they unfold. You never make them feel broken for needing time. You let them take each emotional step at the pace their heart allows. And that patience, that gentleness, that respect, you have no idea how deeply that touches someone who has been forced to heal alone for far too long. They are falling because you don't weaponize their vulnerabilities. When someone shares their fears, their insecurities, their past mistakes, their wounds, they place their heart in your hands. Many people misuse that trust. But you protect it. You hold their truth carefully. You honor their pain instead of dismissing it. You reassure instead of criticizing. You embrace instead of pulling away. And that emotional safety is something they didn't expect to find again. Someone is falling for you slowly because you don't love people halfway. You don't give half-hearted affection. You don't show selective care. You give your full presence, your full attention, your full sincerity. And your sincerity is refreshing in a world where so many pretend. You don't pretend. You don't perform. You don't love for applause. You love because it is who you are. They are falling because you make them feel seen. Not just looked at, seen. When they speak, you listen. When they change, you notice. When they hide their sadness, you sense it. When they try to be strong, you admire it. Your attention isn't casual, and they know it. Your attention is full of intention, and intention is what makes love real. They are falling because you bring warmth into their life without demanding that they extinguish their darkness first. You don't ask them to hide their flaws. You don't ask them to pretend to be okay. You don't ask them to erase their past. You show them that they can be loved exactly as they are, messy, imperfect, growing, wounded, beautiful. They are falling for the way you care about their dreams. You don't envy them. You don't belittle them. You don't push them to settle for less. You want them to win. You want them to rise. You want them to discover the version of themselves they once believed they would never become. Your encouragement isn't forced, it flows naturally. And they can feel that your support comes from a true place. Someone is falling for you slowly because you didn't build a wall around your heart, even though you had every reason to. People have hurt you too. People have disappointed you too. People have left you too. But you chose to keep your heart soft. You chose to keep loving. You chose to keep believing in the goodness in others. You chose to give love another chance. And seeing you love boldly despite your pain inspires courage in them. You are proof that a soft heart can survive a hard world. They are falling for the way you balance strength and tenderness. You are strong, but not in a way that intimidates. You are soft, but not in a way that weakens you. You hold your boundaries with quiet confidence. You give affection with genuine warmth. You speak with honesty, yet your honesty is never cruel. This balance makes you unforgettable. They are falling because you make ordinary moments feel meaningful. A simple conversation becomes comforting. A short message becomes uplifting. A shared silence becomes peaceful. A small gesture becomes unforgettable. You give emotional value to moments that others overlook. And that ability, the ability to turn simple things into something that feels like home, is a rare kind of magic. Someone is falling for you slowly because every time they pull away out of instinct, out of fear, out of self-protection, you don't chase, but you don't vanish either. You stay where they can find you. You stay open. You stay warm. You stay steady. You show them that love doesn't have to be frantic or unstable or exhausting. You show them that real connection can breathe, can pause, can stretch, can bend without breaking. they are falling because you don't guilt them for their past. You don't make them feel defined by the mistakes they once made. You don't hold their history against them. You see who they are becoming, not who they used to be. You believe in their growth. You believe in their transformation. You believe in their potential. And being believed in by you feels like being offered a second chance at life. They are falling because you communicate with clarity. You don't leave them guessing or overthinking. You don't send mixed signals. You don't play confusing emotional games. When you care, you show it. When something matters, you say it. When something hurts, you express it. Your clarity brings peace to their anxiety, calm to their confusion, safety to their heart. They are falling for your gentleness, the way you soften your voice when they're upset, the way you reassure without invalidating, the way you offer comfort not by trying to fix everything but simply by being there. Sometimes, your presence heals more than explanations ever could. Someone is falling for you slowly because you respect their boundaries. You don't push them to open up before they're ready. You don't demand emotional intimacy without consent. You give space when needed, closeness when welcomed. And people fall deeply for those who honor their emotional limits instead of breaking them. They are falling because your love asks for nothing but truth. Not perfection. Not performance. Not constant availability. Just honesty. Just presence. Just real connection. You make love feel simple again. And simple love, in a world where everything feels complicated, is the rarest thing of all. Someone is falling for you slowly because they can finally breathe around you. They can finally rest. They can finally stop pretending. They can finally feel safe enough to be their imperfect, beautiful, human self. And when someone finds a person who gives them that freedom, that comfort, that peace, they don't fall all at once. They fall in tiny moments until suddenly, they realize their heart has been leaning toward you for a long time, and one day, whether they say it or not, they will know deeply, quietly, firmly, they are falling for you not because you asked for love, but because you gave love in a way that asked for nothing in return. Someone is falling for you slowly because every time they look at you, they see a kind of love that the world doesn't often teach. A love that isn't rushed. A love that isn't demanding. A love that isn't built on fear or insecurity or power. A love that simply flows because your heart was made to give, not because you expect anything in return. And that purity is beginning to change them from the inside out. They're falling for you because you don't just offer comfort, you embody it. Your presence feels like a safe shelter after a long storm. You don't overwhelm. You don't pressure. You don't intrude. You simply offer space, warmth, and understanding. And in a world where people often take advantage of softness, your kindness feels almost unbelievable. Yet the more time they spend around you, the more they realize, this is who you truly are. Not an act. Not a mask. Not a temporary show. You are genuinely gentle, deeply empathetic, and beautifully sincere. They're falling for the way you show love through action more than words. The way you respond when they need reassurance. The way you sense when they're not okay, even when they don't say a thing. The way you notice the tiny shifts in their mood. The way you show up without being asked. The way you offer support without making them feel weak. You love through consistency, and consistency is what people crave in a world full of uncertainty. They're falling because you never make them feel like a burden. They're so used to holding everything inside, to solving everything alone, to believing that their emotions are too heavy for anyone else. But you make them feel wanted. You make them feel valued. You make them feel like their feelings matter. And they are slowly, quietly allowing themselves to lean on you in ways they haven't leaned on anyone in years. Someone is falling for you slowly because you don't love in pieces, you love in wholeness. When you give affection, it is complete. When you care about someone, you care deeply. When you invest your heart, you invest fully. You don't treat people like options or temporary chapters. You treat them with the respect of someone who knows the value of a human heart. You treat them with the sincerity of someone who doesn't play with emotions. And that kind of emotional integrity is rare, extraordinary, unforgettable. They are falling because you make healing look possible. You don't force them to confront their past, but somehow being around you makes them want to. Not because you ask them to change, but because your love makes them want to become the version of themselves that you already see. You reflect their goodness back to them. You remind them that they have worth. You make them believe that they deserve more than pain. Your presence plants seeds of hope in the heart they once believed was numb. They are falling for you because you understand silence. You understand pauses. You understand the moments when words fail. You know how to sit with someone in stillness without making it uncomfortable. You know how to offer comfort without saying too much. You know how to hold space for their emotions without trying to fix everything. And that understanding, the ability to sit with someone emotionally without needing to control the moment, is a form of love many never experience. Someone is falling for you slowly because you love in a way that honors freedom. You don't try to possess them. You don't cling, you don't cage, you don't confine. You allow people to breathe, to grow, to evolve. You don't demand that they shrink or change to fit your expectations. You let love be a place of expansion, not restriction. And for someone who has felt suffocated in past relationships, your freedom feels like the sweetest relief. They are falling because you don't withhold affection to feel powerful. You don't play hot and cold. You don't disappear to create fear. You don't manipulate emotions. You love softly, openly, courageously. And that courage, that emotional vulnerability you show, teaches them that real love requires honesty, not control. Someone is falling for you slowly because you value connection more than ego. You value truth more than pride. You value love more than winning arguments. You don't need to be right all the time. You just want to understand. You don't fight to hurt, you communicate to heal. And that emotional maturity is magnetic. They are falling because you don't abandon people when they are difficult to love. You don't step back when things get messy. You don't give up when emotions get complicated. You don't run away when misunderstandings happen. You stay. You try. You listen. You care. And staying, truly staying, is something they have rarely experienced. They are falling because you give them hope in humanity again. You show them that genuine people still exist. That loyalty still exists. That tenderness still exists. That someone can care without ulterior motives. That someone can love without conditions. That someone can stay without needing to be begged. You remind them that love, real love, is not extinct. Someone is falling for you slowly because you make their life brighter, calmer, softer. You make their days feel lighter. You make their fears feel manageable. You make their dreams feel reachable. You make their heart feel alive again, something they weren't sure was possible. You don't fix their life, but you make their life feel less heavy. And that is its own kind of miracle. They're falling because the way you love teaches them how to love too. Your patience teaches them to slow down. Your softness teaches them to open up. Your acceptance teaches them to be vulnerable. Your steadiness teaches them to trust. Your generosity teaches them to give. Your honesty teaches them to be brave. You are reshaping the way they understand connection without even realizing it. Someone is falling for you slowly because you love them without asking them to earn it. You didn't make them chase your affection. You didn't make them audition for a place in your heart. You loved because you felt love, without conditions, without requirements, without expectations. That kind of love doesn't demand, it inspires. It awakens. It transforms, and the truth is, one day they will look at you and realize that you were not just someone who cared. You were someone who healed. Someone who stayed. Someone who understood. Someone who gave them the courage to believe in love again. Someone who turned their guarded heart into a growing one. Someone who made them feel seen, held, and appreciated in ways they didn't know they needed. One day they will understand that they didn't fall for you in a single moment, they fell in thousands of small ones. In every kindness. In every quiet reassurance. In every moment you stayed. In every time you chose gentleness. In every time you offered love freely, and when they finally realize how deeply they've fallen, one truth will remain: you were loved back not because you demanded it, but because you taught their heart how to love again.